When was the last time you feel truly happy? And if you can't even remember it, then that includes the point on why you shouldn't even chase happiness in the first place. Because let's be honest, happiness doesn't even exist. And if you're chasing to be happy, you're just gonna end up being miserable. Because I've been there, chasing happiness, chasing peace, chasing those things, but I'm end up being more depressed than ever before. Because chasing happiness only ends to voidness. But chasing fulfillment and purpose is what truly drives us motivated. Because you can chase happiness all you want, but you're just gonna end up even more miserable. Because chasing happiness is completely futility. Why don't you just chase something that is just greater? So if you don't chase happiness, then what do you chase then? Well, there are options, of course. If you chase comfort, then that's going to be the same as chasing happiness. But what if you think about deeply and you chase something that is greater than yourself? Like a purpose, or maybe chasing money, helping other people, or following Christ, which is not a lot of people do these days. Those things are gonna be way more fulfilling than chasing a linear happiness by getting to relationships or whatever your happiness might be. Because at the end of the day, happiness won't fulfill you, but purpose will. Because ever since I chase purpose, I chase Christ, things are just way better in my life. I started enjoying pain, I started enjoying hard things in my life, and I stopped chasing for happiness, and I instead get the peace of God, which is way greater than all of them. Not to mention, you live once, so why are you chasing an emotion that's completely fleeting, that's completely futile, that's completely useless, that's completely foolish? Because if I'm being honest here, purpose gives me more fulfillment than chasing a linear happiness that will eventually fade in seconds. The reason Jesus tells us to deny ourselves and pick up the cross daily is because it gives us the most fulfillment, it makes us more like Him, and it just gives the best life possible. Not to mention the Holy Bible is eventually the guidance of our lives, and we should ultimately follow it. The reason people are unhappy is because they're chasing the most comfort, the most happiness, while what they should be chasing is absolutely purpose, absolutely pain. It's absolutely something that is greater than themselves, and until they do that, they will not feel truly happy and peaceful with themselves. And if you're still arguing with me, then let me give you an example. Imagine 80 years from now, you're on your deathbed, you almost die, you're old, and then you flash back all the years in your life chasing happiness. Would you regret it? Would you regret not trying something just because it is uncomfortable, just because it is scary, just because it is new, just because your fear of the judgment around people around you? And most people would probably say yes, and if you're saying no, then you're probably a fool and you're just denying yourselves. Because when I start chasing purpose, I start finding beauty in pain. I start finding meaning on what life actually is. Even though we eventually won't know until that last day dies on what the meaning of life is. And if you don't live life fullest and you just chase happiness, then you'll probably even regret it even more. Now the reason I'm saying this is because the heart is deceitful. You know what our hearts want? Our hearts want comfort. They want lust. They want selfishness. They want something that is comfortable. You know, but guess what? The thing that's going to truly fulfill us is purpose. The thing that is going to truly fulfill us is actually Christ. So if you're just listening to your heart instead of listening to Christ, then you're listening to foolishness and you're gonna live with regret, even though you might go to heaven, but nobody knows, of course. And now I'm going to talk about the misconception that a lot of people are misconceiving. Is that if you're self-improving, you cannot be happy. Is that if you're not chasing happiness, you cannot be happy. And then you're gonna end up suffering for the rest of your life and you have to endure that. That is completely untrue. Purpose gives you more fulfillment, like I said. So if you're not chasing happiness and you're chasing purpose, you're chasing Christ, you're chasing to be not what most people are, you're gonna end up being more fulfilled. And that is my testimony here. Okay, I used to be so depressed in 2024 because I was chasing happiness, I was chasing the approval of people, which is what probably most people are chasing. And I end up one day being happy, one day being sad. That's because our hearts is deceitful, and I end up being super depressed and I wanted to take my own life. But now I'm 16. Now I'm not saying I'm already ultra successful and rich and jacked, of course no. But I have found something which is a purpose, which is learning a new skill, which is becoming like Christ, becoming selfless, denying myself, and that is giving me so much fulfillment, to the point where I can say that pain is actually beautiful, to the point where I can say that pain is actually worth it. Something that Andrew Tate also says, that there is actually beauty in the pain, there is beauty in the suffering. Because people who are mature is people who can enjoy pain and go through it without any complaints, with little complaints, I mean. And just remember that I'm speaking here with love. I'm not speaking with hate. I want people to feel fulfilled. You know, I hate when people are depressed, because I've been there wanting to take my own life, as like I said before. And the key to happiness is that if you believe you can be happy, then you can be happy, but you have to do the necessary steps, like working out, learning a new skill, not being lazy. Because if you're eventually only chasing comfort, then you're gonna end up depressed. But if you're chasing purpose, if you're chasing meaning in life, that's eventually worth it, that is eventually Christ-like, you'll end up being the most fulfilling person in the world. Or I mean, end up being fulfilled. And now, to end the video, I'm going to actually explain on how to be happy and how to achieve peace in life. First, you have to be willing to cut off all the things that is not helping you being happy. Let's say it's laziness, let's say it's character addiction like I had years ago, let's say it's corn or whatever. And until you're willing to take up that cross, until you're willing to chase purpose, you will not feel truly happy. Because that is just the harsh reality that not a lot of people are willing to talk, because it's uncomfortable sharing with people that your path is actually going to break you down in the long road. And I am still struggling to sometimes convince people, sometimes tell people that what you're doing is wrong. I'm gonna just be real. And then the second thing that you are going to do is actually just make sure that you put God in the center. Just make sure that what you're doing is pleasing God. Now, we won't truly know God, but we can do things that are actually pleasing Him, and that will give us so much fulfillment. Because trust me, when you actually follow Christ, when you actually read the Bible and follow the necessary steps and have a relationship, not religion, okay, this is super important, relationship over religion, you will feel the most fulfilled compared to the worldly people. Now, I'm not saying Christians are better than worldly people, because we're not. You have to be humble. But I'm saying that following Christ is ultimately going to lead the best life. And then the third and important tip, which is going to help you, but it's not a must, is that you have to find a support system so that you can continue growing your purpose in Christ, so that you can continue living life to its fullest. Because you don't have a support system, it's going to be very easy to give up. But if you're determined and you have a support system, whether that's a friend, whether that's a partner, you will end up being more relentless. You will end up being more better. Now, I'm not saying you are going to be like desperate, of course, no. But a relationship, a friendship should add on to your life. It shouldn't replace happiness on you, between you and God. And then the last step that I'm going to actually do by ending the video is actually to just start enjoying the pain. Start finding beauty in pain, because until you do that, you will not live life to its fullest. Until you do that, you will not live life to its full extent. Because finding beauty in pain is realizing that all the things you're going through is making you a better person. All the things you're going through are going to give you peace. Okay? And if you do those 4 steps, I promise you, you're going to find happiness. And then the bonus tip is to believe that you can do it through God, not through your own strength. And that is how you're going to be happy.